Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Christy and today's video is going to be a little bit different for you. If you follow my channel, you know that I haven't posted anything for a month. The month of December has just been a little crazy, a little difficult month. So I wanted to start the new year with a video that kind of tells my story. So when I'm out traveling and meeting new people, one of the things that I'm most often asked is, what got me started on this journey? What was the catalyst that got me started on this journey? And kind of with the encouragement of a few people in the industry, I thought I would share my story. My story that got me on the road is pretty tragic, but I don't share it for the "I'm sorry that happened to you" comments. I share it to maybe offer a little bit of hope for those going through things that are tragic. So I've always kind of had the travel bug thing going on, but I was a single mom. My husband passed in 2014, and so it was myself and my daughter at home, and she was my adventure buddy. She would kayak, and really we took trips together, but she was a lot like me in that at the drop of a hat, she was ready to go, any adventure, anywhere, anytime. So we always had this pact that whenever she went off to college, she wanted to be an animal biologist, and she wanted to be a Jane Goodall of types, and wanted to be on assignment in Africa and all these different locations, that when she was traveling, I was going to meet her in these different places and have these cool experiences together, but separate. So that was kind of our thing. And then in September of 2019, everything changed. I came home from work one day and I found that my 13-year-old daughter had taken her life there in the house. And to say that I was devastated would be the understatement of the year. She was my heart. And as you can imagine, my life came to a screeching halt, and never spent another night in that house. I couldn't. So my sister and a wonderful team of 8 volunteers, selfless, wonderful people, went and packed my entire house up for me. And I stayed with my sister for a couple of weeks and then decided, you know, I need to try, maybe a small apartment would be okay. I didn't want a house because I didn't want to feel empty bedrooms, you know. Everything about that time now just seems kind of like a blur. So I moved into the apartment, and I was really struggling to get out of bed in the mornings, to find a reason to get out of bed in the mornings. So I knew I was getting in a pretty bad place. I had to do something to keep myself from this downward spiral that I was in. And it just seemed so lonely without my daughter Allie there. And I didn't see how life would ever be okay again at that point. So I didn't grow up camping, but I wanted to find something that I could do on the weekends. During the week I worked, and so that kept my mind fairly busy. But I needed something on the weekend, so I was just not sitting there. And I had been looking at some campers, and my sister and brother-in-law actually bought a Casita, and I saw theirs, and I said, that's it. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to buy me a little camper and stay put during the week, and just on the weekends go, so I'm not sitting and dwelling. Plus, I felt like if I was getting out and seeing beautiful places, it might help me a little bit. So one of the things that they say, you know, after a tragedy or after a loss is don't make any major purchases in the first year. So that was in September of 2019 that happened. And in January of 2020, I purchased my Casita Gidget, and I was driving a RAV4 at the time, which didn't have the tow package that I needed and the capacity that I needed. So I went ahead and purchased my Pathfinder, and a month later, I got to go pick up Gidget. So my first camping trip was a weekend with my sister and brother-in-law. We each took our Casitas to Lake Hawkins, and I loved it. And then again in March, we went to Crystal Beach here in Texas and camped on the beach. And I felt so much peace being in my little space. It didn't feel like there's not enough room in here for it to feel empty. And there's also not a bunch of different rooms that are empty. And it felt a little bit like a sanctuary to me, honestly. And as we were leaving the beach, it's when the pandemic really started to pick up some steam. And I found a little RV park and went straight from the beach to the RV park. So I stayed at that RV park in my little Gidget for, I think I had booked it for maybe 5 days or something. And I just decided that I felt so much more at peace in this little tiny space than I did at the apartment with the empty rooms, and made the decision that this was going to be where I would live. I did have to keep the apartment for a little bit, although I didn't go back and stay there. I kind of went back and did some laundry and that sort of thing. But then when I went full time, I still was working. So I would just, I stayed in a stationary park for a while and would just travel to work. And then on the weekends, I would go places. And, the whole saying, kind of fake it till you make it. That was what I was sort of living under at the time. Little did I know that this lifestyle and my little Gidget, my little home on wheels, was going to be therapy for me. I missed and still miss my daughter so much. And sitting in that apartment, I just felt no matter what I did, my mind just kept going back and replaying the tragedy over and over. And I had a lot of flashbacks from the scene of finding her and trying to work through all that. And if you've ever been through something like that, it feels so hopeless and unimaginable that you ever will recover from that, or that you will ever have hope in life again. My world was totally devastated. And yes, I have an older daughter and I have grandbabies and I love them and they're so wonderful. But people would remind me of that and say, well, at least you have it. No, there's really not a well, at least you have, because it doesn't replace the bond that I had with my daughter, and it doesn't replace, all the memories and also the hopes that we had for our future. And she was a really cool kid. So I started traveling to these places, and whether it be a beach or, the beautiful East Texas pines, in those places I found a tiny bit of peace, and albeit for a short time, I still knew that it existed. And in the world that I had been reeling from in the last, 4 to 6 months, I was eager to hold on to that little tiny bit of reprieve, the little piece that I found. But as time kind of went on, when I visited these really pretty places, I would leave a little bit of my daughter's ashes there. Now, some people feel weird about that, but for me, that was cathartic. And it began to shift and feel like she was kind of part of my adventures. So the shift for me kind of came when I felt like I was taking her on some of those adventures with me, and I felt like she was with me. Like I said, she had been my little kayak buddy, and so I found that sitting in a kayak, it didn't make me as sad as it did early on. It helped me to kind of work through some memories, and some beautiful memories that she had left with me. I had said for a long time that I thought all of these things that we did in her life and the experiences that I was giving her in her life were going to be her lifelong memories. Little did I know that they were going to be the memories that kept me going. And I am so grateful for those. And I am at a point in my life now, I'm not over her, because you don't get over something like that, but I'm at a point now where I can think about our kayak days and smile or laugh, that we had funny things that had happened. And when I started doing YouTube, I was feeling a little bit lonely on the road. And when I started doing YouTube, and I'd post something, not that my videos are fabulous now, but in the beginning they really weren't. And people would comment or say that they had been to these places or have questions. It kind of felt like I wasn't on the road by myself anymore. And honestly, you guys that comment or have followed me for a while, honestly, you, in a weird way, you were all part of my therapy. And still continue to be, I guess. But in that, I had someone to share these wonderful things with that didn't feel sorry for me. The people in my real life, they had walked through this tragedy with me hand in hand, and they worried about me, of course, being on the road and all that stuff. You guys were out there watching and encouraging, and I began to put out a few more videos, and there were comments from people that I had recognized their names from previous videos. In a strange way, it gave me some purpose, if that makes any sense. And I think maybe I thought, well, this is something I can do. I can share these beautiful places with these cool people who are out wanting to do the same thing or living vicariously, whatever. That's something that I have to offer. And I didn't know that I would actually develop personal relationships with some of you guys and meet people on the road that have been fantastic. You've heard me say before, I've met more people. I know more people now than I ever knew in a sticks and bricks home that I lived in. But there was a rally of support around me from people who didn't know anything about this horrible tragedy that had been the catalyst to get me on the road. So that was really nice. And after a while, I wasn't looking for the next place to run to medicate a feeling. I was looking for the next place to go for a sense of adventure. And I don't know at what point that shifted all the way. I think starting the YouTube had some bearing on that, maybe the purpose that it gave me. And, every time I would go to a new place, well, I needed to get up. I needed to get up and go hiking. I needed to get up and see what they had, if they had kayaking, if they had boat ramps. So I needed to get up and get out of bed and do all these things, not for myself, because you guys wanted to see these videos. And that's kind of what I told myself, I think, initially, but it worked. And now I feel like I love this life, and maybe this is my rolling therapy, I don't know, but I finally got to a place of where, and this is going to sound super cliche, but it's the truth, where I didn't feel like I was running from anything anymore. I was kind of running to something, and that little paradigm shift has really made a difference. So this may sound a little strange, but I don't know most of you personally, and I'll probably never meet most of you, but your interaction with my channel, like the watching and then commenting from the beginning, you just don't know. You just don't know what effect or what somebody's going through. And so just the simple comments from the beginning of, that's a pretty place, loved your video, or loved your passion, or just those simple little comments in the very beginning, they really were sort of key to helping me get where I am today. I know that may sound super cheesy, but it's true. So I appreciate you guys very, very much. And I don't say any of this to make anybody feel sorry for me. I believe that the things I've gone through in my life have made me a stronger person. So I will say this about my daughter. She was one of the coolest kids I think I'd ever met, and probably ever will meet, in that she was just this ball of light, and everyone that met her felt that way. And she was a friend to the friendless, and people tended to gravitate towards her. You just felt good being around her. People always have questions. We don't know why that she chose to do that. She wasn't bullied. She had a lot of friends in different groups. Everyone saying that she, impacted their life in a big way or changed their life. And I just think that someone like her was such a light that in this tragedy, so many people were affected that the ripples that she made in the pond were so much bigger, and the impact was so much bigger than maybe someone else could have had from that. And I share the story both to honor her life, but also just to remind people, you don't know what someone's going through. You really don't. And I never had conversations about suicide with my daughter because she was happy. She wasn't bullied. Like I said, we talked about college, and we talked about tomorrow, and there just wasn't an indication that was coming. And so I'm going to advocate just for a second here. Always check on the people in your lives and have those unnecessary conversations, not just with kids, but adults as well. I have met so many families that have been affected by suicide. I encourage you just to check on those around you. And if you have younger ones in your life, these kids, man, the stuff that they deal with is so much more than when I was a kid. Check on them. And if they're the really happy ones that are just excelling in school and thriving in every area of their life, make sure you check on them too, because you don't know what silent storm they may be dealing with. So that's what I'm going to say about that. That child changed my life in so many ways. She truly is the light that keeps me moving forward. So I'm excited about 2023 and what it brings to this channel, and getting to share it all with you guys while I'm out on the road. I'm going to do a little more exploring in the towns that I'm visiting this year, and I'm actually going to be traveling out of Texas for a little while this year. I'm going to meet one of my subscribers and friends, Chris, with their campers, and in the San Juan Islands, and go kayaking with the orca whales. Now, I didn't know that was something that existed, so it's going on my bucket list retroactively. And if all that goes as planned, then there's quite a few other things that I want to explore out of Texas. So that's what's coming this year, hopefully. And if you're new, thanks for tuning in. And for those of you who have been around for a while or for the long haul, I do appreciate all of you and the comments, and really just kind of going along on this journey with me and being so encouraging. I appreciate you guys so very much. I know it's a long video, but if you or someone you know has gone through something tragic in life, and we all have tragedies that happen, my wish is that you glean a tiny bit of hope from watching the possibility of living again. And for me, the first 2 months, probably the first 6 months, I truly did not believe in my heart I was ever going to make it through something so horrific and such a tremendous loss. I didn't believe I would ever make it through it intact. And next month, February of 2023, will be 3 years since I bought my little Casita. And not only am I doing okay, I'm actually thriving again in my life. And I have hope for the future. And now those wonderful, precious memories that my daughter gave me in her short 13 years carry me through on the tough days. So with all that said, I hope you guys reach out if you're struggling. Reach out to those who are struggling, and just know that there is hope. Regardless of the pain, regardless of the desperation, there really is hope. You just got to keep getting up day after day and truly putting one foot in front of the other until you have moments where the pain is not so heavy. And then maybe the next week, the pain is not so heavy for a little bit longer. That is truly how I survived the first year. So thank you so much for watching and pouring into my channel and being part of my therapy. So I'm really looking forward to what I hope all the channel is going to bring to you guys this year. Thanks for watching. Remember to always enjoy those little things, and I'll see you soon.